welcome to the next video in my Smart Chats series. I am joined by the wonderful Melanie Traub, who is the Managing Director at Tree. So I thought it would be really interesting to have a chat all about sustainability and ethical fashion. You have obviously been in the industry for many years, so I think you're going to have a lot to say about all of this. So I'm really excited to be sat here chatting with you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
So Tree was one of the first kind of sustainable and ethical brands that was out there. So I think first it'd be really great to just hear a little bit of background on the brand.
Well, in fact, Tree was really a pioneer in this space and started nearly 28 years ago. So it's not a new idea, it's something that's been going for a long time. And it was actually started by Safia Mini all those years ago when she was living in Japan. And it came later to the UK when she and her family moved back here. And it was really as a result of she really truly believed in ethical and sustainable fashion, and she couldn't find the product she wanted, hence she started the business.
Wow. I mean, that's way ahead of the
where
time. Things are now with all of it, yeah.
And everybody's always so surprised that we're that old, because nobody, let's be honest, was talking about sustainability or even, you know, fair wages. None of that was just anywhere to be heard, and yet that's when it started 28 years ago, so it's quite incredible.
Incredible, yeah. And you mentioned fair wages. Ethics is a massive part of the brand.
Yes.
Fair trade is at the core of what Tree stands for. Could you tell us a little bit more about what fair trade means to the brand?
Yeah, so we are actually one of the, I think we were certainly the first and maybe even still one of the only fashion retailers to be certified by the World Fair Trade Organization. And you will see that we use that logo quite a lot because it's very important to be recognized. And what that means is there are 10 principles of fair trade, and we try and abide by them, both with our producers and even with ourselves and within our office. And it's about fair trade. It's about paying a fair price for the goods that we're getting. It's about safe working conditions. It's about being allowed to, if they wish, join a trade union. It's about gender equality, and of course things like no child labour.
Amazing, because all of those things are so important, and I think it's brilliant that Tree have been doing this for so many years, and now that people are more aware of the importance of fair trade and even the whole sustainability side of things, I think it's great that you're already established in
Absolutely.
that respect. It's not like you need to play catch up to tick all those boxes suddenly.
And it really is just core within the business. So, you know, even within our office, it's that everybody knows the 10 principles, and we're proud to be part of it and to be working towards those kind of ethos.
So I know you work with really innovative materials, including tensile fibres. When you source these materials, do you feel like you have to compromise on quality ever in order to be working with these sustainable, environmentally friendly textiles?
It's a great question. We don't compromise quality because that would be sort of counterintuitive, I think. But it's really, really hard to find something that works for us from a sustainability practice and is also really good quality. We're quite fortunate in that things like organic cotton, and again we use certified organic cotton, and wool, which is a natural product. But when we were looking for something, cotton's quite stiff. When we were looking for something that was a bit more drapey, a lot like, if you like, the sort of qualities that people are used to seeing in polyester and man-made fibres, we had to go a long way to find something that would give us that drape. And one of the products we found was tensile, and we use tensile by lensing, and that's is from wood pulp, and it's made in a closed loop process so that you retain the water, and it's made by renewable forests, so that the wood is obviously not just cut down and never replaced. So this is a really sustainable fabric. And it's got a lovely soft handle. It's very drapey, and it feels, you never know that it started its life as a tree.
No.
I
really love how innovative it is. I mean, you would never think that you could create clothing from a forest, basically, a wood. I've felt all of the materials from tensile, and it is amazing. You would never believe that it is. It feels like it is the highest quality. And I actually do think that a lot of people, when you start talking about sustainable fashion, you think that okay, it's not going to be the most fashionable. You're
Yeah.
buying it because of the ethics it stands for, but not necessarily because it looks great. But I think that's where People Tree have actually come so far. Is that something that you feel like you have to educate your audience on in a way?
Yes, and I think it is a change in where the business has gone as well.
Yeah.
So it's very important to us that absolutely that it's a fashionable collection, that people say, I like, I feel good in this. This is a nice dress. This is something I want to be seen in. And I think the difficulty is that the idea of sustainable and really true ethical fashion, they expect it to look ugly and not to fit and not to have any shape and probably to be brown. There's that sort of idea. But what we want to do is make it as fashionable as it would be anywhere else, and that the fit is really good, and we work on that a lot, so that you can say, hey, I love this and I'm doing some good. And that's really very much what we're about.
You almost, I suppose, want someone to pick up an item, fall in love with it first because they love the look and the feel of it and how it fits, and then the fact that it is sustainable and it's ethical, that's just an absolute bonus and reinforces that reason of buying it.
And that's just what we're about. And I think that's why we're getting a new customer, and more people are proud to be wearing People Tree, because first and foremost they feel good in it. They look great in it.
Totally. And I mean, you've been in the fashion industry for a long time. You're an expert in this field. You must have seen a lot of progress within the sustainability in particular. In the last, say, 20 years, what have you noticed has changed?
I'm not even sure it's 20 years. It's probably even more recently than that. It just wasn't on our radar. I think ethics were. I think paying a decent wage and safe conditions in factories, that sort of thing, was on people's radar. I'm not sure that people were doing enough, but I think people did care. But in terms of sustainability, it just wasn't on the agenda. Nobody even thought about it. It was never a discussion.
No.
It just wasn't there. And I think maybe it's 10 years now that it's really become, people know about it, and for a long time it was sort of a bit fringe. And it's only now that it's become really mainstream and taken seriously. It's
like there was that conversation, it's been a very slow process, but now it's all about actually the actions of that, making sure that the brand does.
I think people wanted to see, is this just a fashion? Is this just going to go away? Do we really need to do this? And now, as the consumer's much more educated, the customer does care. Well, it's time that you actually put your money where your mouth is and actually start doing these things.
It's interesting you say, is the sustainability angle a fashion, because I think it can be a bit of a trend. We were talking earlier about how there are a lot of brands that are using that word sustainability, and that word is being thrown around a lot at the moment. Do you think there needs to be more like credibility around that word, certain standpoints that people need to meet to actually use that term sustainability?
I think there is a very real danger that we are going to be, if you like, another new word that's come across is greenwashing. And I think that there is some of that going on. I think that people can't just say, oh, it's organic cotton, oh, it was made, oh, it's sustainable. They have to prove it. And I think a lot of people aren't doing that. And I think that's going to be the next change that we're going to see, is that actually you can follow the supply chain all the way through and see that it truly is sustainable. Because at the moment, I think people are just calling it sustainable in the way that they used to call it fashionable. And they're two very different things.
It's almost like they know that something needs to be done because the consumer is becoming more savvy and wants to find something that's a bit more sustainable or ethical. So they're just using that word, tagging it along to like a collection or something, and they don't actually know that where their clothing has been sourced, how much they're paying their workers. There's no transparency, and that's where I think People Tree really stands at.
I think it is about, people do demand more transparency, and there are a lot more people looking at it today. And I think it's difficult, it's tough to be transparent, it's really tough to make sure that you're doing the right thing all the time. And I think that we have to be held accountable. And
you must have noticed a bit of a younger audience as well.
We really have, and actually that's really exciting for us. I think as people have got to know the brand and have come to like it, and as we are actually sold now in with ASOS, John Lewis, all those sorts of places.
Really accessible
Really
now. Yeah.
accessible, because we don't have any of our own shops. So now they'll see us sitting side by side, as we should be, with other brands.
Yeah.
And they can now know a little bit about us. That we're seeing we've got a much younger customer, and that's really exciting for us.
I do feel like the younger generation are so aware and so conscious of these topics.
Absolutely.
Which is unbelievable. It's amazing. It's really inspiring for me to see such a young person speaking so passionately about sustainability and ethics.
I think they're much more aware, much more educated now, and it starts in school, and it comes all the way through. So I think each generation is just going to be more committed to this, which is fantastic.
So one thing that I have noticed that People Tree are really brilliant at doing is collaborating with other brilliant brands. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the collaborations that you've been involved in?
Yes, no, actually we've got a couple of really exciting projects. We're very careful who we collaborate with, because they have to be of the same mindset as ourselves. And we're very excited by the V&A collection, because as you know, the V&A has this amazing archive, and we're very fortunate to partner with them, and they give us a lot of access through their archivists to the archives, and we can recolour and redesign prints from their archive to fit with the themes that they've got showing in the V&A.
Wow, that must be a massive inspiration going through the archives.
It's just like incredible, and they are great to work with. They have very high standard, which is perfect, and we just thoroughly enjoy it. So the one that we have out at the moment is just beautiful prints that were part of their Persian collection. We've really redesigned them and brought them, I think, to life. But done it in a really modern way, so that we take modern shapes from it. And that's been really exciting. And although I'm giving you a bit of a preview here, for the autumn, obviously the Mary Quant exhibition's just launched, and we've got a really great 60s vibe. And I think that's going to be very exciting for our customer.
I love the 60s fashion. It's just endlessly inspirational, isn't it? I adore it. That's really exciting.
It's really exciting.
And that's what I love, that People Tree are not just focused on the sustainability and fair trade. That's always going to be at the core of it. But it's about discovering ways that you can constantly evolve, and collaborating with other brilliant brands and organisations, and creating these partnerships. It's fascinating.
It's funny because we're also doing some T-shirts with BBC Earth.
Yes, of course.
And that's been just incredible to understand what they're doing, and how, and it's people like the BBC and the BBC Earth programmes and the David Attenborough programmes, which have really inspired more and more people, both young and old, to really understand what sustainability means to our planet. And to be able to partner with them and show some of their animals on our T-shirts. And of course we're organic cotton, and well, that means also that the dyes we use won't harm the planet in any way, and that if they do go back into the water chain, they are not harmful to the people or the crops. So to be part of that and to make our T-shirts in that way, I think is just such a lovely partnership. So that's really exciting as well.
Makes total sense, because I think BBC Earth have been raising awareness. People watch it.
Absolutely.
They're like, this is amazing. I can't believe I didn't know that. What can I do? And then that's where People Tree come in, because I think people still want to be looking their best. They like fashion, and it's about finding those options that are still going to fulfil and tick all of those boxes. For someone that is wanting to shop more consciously, that still loves their fashion, what tips and advice could you give them?
What I'd say to you is, you really need to look behind the label. So be aware of where it's being made. Be aware if it says that it's organic cotton. Are you sure it's organic cotton? Does it say that it's certified as organic cotton? Because if it's not, the chances are that it's not truly organic cotton, and the difference is that if it's organic cotton, it means that if it's flow certified, that the farm has been paid a fair price. It means that there are no harmful pesticides which have been used on the crop, which then go in. The worst thing is they then go into the water chain. Okay, so if you're using organic, then there's nothing harmful going back into the water. Well, that has to be the right way. Have a look at whether there's transparency from the brand that you're buying. Do they tell you where they're being made? Does it say anything other than just, sometimes they don't even say country of origin.
No.
Can you find out a bit more? Do they have a statement about sustainability? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
So I think there's no harm in asking some questions.
That leads me on to the last question. What is next for sustainable fashion, but also what's next for People Tree?
Well, People Tree is growing, I'm very delighted to say, so we're going to be available more easily and in more outlets now. More than the V&A and the BBC, we've got some great other partnerships coming up into the new year. And more importantly, we're going to keep doing what we do, I think, really well. So we're true to our ethos, but we're growing our collection. We're trying to find new products. For example, we never used to be able to do anything that was sort of a heavy coat because we couldn't find a way of doing it. We wanted to do a padded jacket, and we couldn't find any. Everything's padded with polyester. Well, that's no good. So now we've managed to pad with 100% cotton.
Wow.
So it gives you warmth, but again, it's organic.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing for us. We keep pushing the boundaries, both in fashion terms, with something like our 1960s collection for the V&A, and also in fabrics. So that's our next step.
That's really exciting.
It is.
Brilliant. Wow. Thank you so much. It's been so interesting chatting with you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found it interesting too. Please do leave comments down below and I'll get back to you on anything that you want to know about People Tree. And I will see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.